Good morning, everybody. Today is May 26, 2018, and it is about 5:30 in the morning. I'm Cliff from Claude's Q, and we will be doing competition ribs today. We are down in Evans, Georgia at the Papa Banjo's Barbecue. That's right, Papa Banjo's Barbecue. As you can see, they finally got the color right. So, we love the color. We love coming down here to this competition. It's always a tough field, but today we will bring you competition ribs live from the competition. So what you'll be seeing today is the actual competition ribs that we turned in, and we will walk you through the whole process from trimming them to seasoning them to putting them in the smoker and putting them in the box. So hope you enjoy the video, and we will be back with you shortly. Alright everybody, this is Dennis, the other half.
What's up?
The other half Claude's Q. So we just broke out one rack. Go ahead and get it trimmed up. As you can see right now, it's just going through the back, trimming it down, making sure we get a little, all the lean meat showing. And in a second, when we get through, we're going to get rid of that nasty membrane on the back. So you don't want all this fat on the back of it because it's not going to render out. So in order for the judges that make sure they have a nice tasty piece of meat, you're going to get rid of all this hard fat and just clean it up so we have nothing but lean meat. What else you got to say, Dennis?
Just get all these little flaps. There's always like this little flap across the back. You want to get rid of that. And a lot of this stuff just kind of pull off. Doesn't take a lot of effort. Let the knife kind of do the work. And then we'll get this membrane off. And as you'll see, you just kind of get your knife up underneath that membrane. Just got to get it started. And here's the trick right here. Paper towel. You can just grab that membrane, work it off. And you'll see you usually get almost a whole big chunk. That paper towel will help just kind of get a good grip on it. Got one more little piece right here. That's it. Just want to clean that off. Get any of these little chunks, just anything hanging. If it doesn't look appealing, it's probably not going to taste real good. So just kind of get all this.
And one of the reasons you want to take that membrane off is to allow the smoke to get on the back side of it, so that way it's going all the way through and giving you a nice smoky taste.
Yeah, you gotta look for things like this, little chunks of bone that just kind of that are stuck up in here from the from when this thing was butchered up. So just make sure you clean all the little fragments. Nobody wants to eat a bone fragment. And you usually get this little flap down here at the end. You can just kind of carve away some of that fat. Try to get as much of that meat exposed as you can.
Turn the ropes back on for a second. You know, one of the things that when you go into the butchers that you want to make sure you get them is you want to make sure the bones are about as straight as you can get them, because when they're straight bones, it ends up at the end of the cook helping you be able to cut nice, even ribs out that's uniform. So, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Then again, you want to check. So like on these right here, you can see there's these little bone fragments right in here. So we want to try to trim all that off. And just kind of figure out where those go, and they're all every rib rack's gonna be a little differently, but we're just gonna try to trim this.
And one thing about storing them this way, we normally buy St. Louis style ribs because they're already pre-trimmed versus the regular just spare ribs with the flap on them. Yeah, gonna get the cutting board so we can make a nice even score on it. And this helps with the uniformity of them and make them for a better presentation. Notice he's making long cuts with it, and then you just go back and clean up some of the fat as you get it.
Yeah, so here's those little bones. You don't want those in there.
Also, it helps. It's gonna cut a little bit off the top, and it's gonna make it even and all the way down. So then that way it's basically the same size, and it helps with the ribs when you get ready to put them in the box because they're nice, uniform looking. What he's doing right now is he's looking for the top of the rib bones. Is going to kind of go from there to make them more uniform.
These are all this is just a bunch of bones in here, these little knuckles. So I'm gonna clean that up.
See how
now you're right here at the end of your bones. This is a whole solid bone all the way through. There's no little pieces hanging off here at the end. And I'll trim a few of these up here. There's a couple little pieces. Try to get this little flap right here. You can see how it sticks out longer than the bone. I'll just kind of trim that off also.
Now, one thing about competition ribs, anytime you're in a competition, you want it as perfect as possible because you have to remember the judges are going to score you on it. And if you half do it, it'll show at the end.
Go.
So
now we gotta figure out how long we want it. You know, these little, the end here, these little tiny bones, you're not gonna be using those. So usually you wanna go up till you get your full bone. So about right here is our full bone. So we're gonna cut this right at this bone here. And that's it. Just gonna one over it and any of these little flaps hanging off. You know, usually you're not going to use much down at this end. You're pretty much going to use right here in the middle. And you know, a little fat like this, it's fine. Just clean up any of these little flaps, things like that hang over the edges. Square that up. That's it.
Alright, and as I said, we're going to go ahead and take off that little end piece down there.
Yeah, see, again, you see this right here is just a little bone right here. So you just kind of figure that out and square that up here.
And we'll scrape a little bit of that fat off of it right there. Although this,
I'm just going to take that whole bone off. It's kind of a freaky bone, so that's it.
That's our rack. That's what'll be going in the smoker. Next thing we have to do is get it seasoned up. So give us a second. We'll show you what we're doing with the seasons. All right, today we will be using Wicked Q Sweet Georgia Heat. We found out that it's a pretty good rub for us. It seems to work pretty well. They make a good product. We use several of the other products, but basically we've come to find out that Wicked Q does pretty well for us. So what we're doing right now is just seasoning the back of them. We're gonna let it soak in for about 10 minutes, and then we'll flip them over and do the other side. But you want to give the rub a chance to kind of just sit and soak into the ribs. And you got anything, Dennis?
Yeah, just make sure you don't put your rub on too soon. Some people will put their rub on for a couple hours ahead of time. And the problem we found with it gets our ribs a little bit too much of a bark, tough to cut, and a little bit tough to chew in. So we usually season them about 30 minutes before we're throwing them in.
So that's it. In about 10 minutes we'll come back and we'll flip them over and we'll go from there. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead, flip them over, and start seasoning the other side. One thing that's important is you want to make sure you get a nice even coat on the ribs. You don't want it too clumped up in any spaces, because if you get it clumped, they'll end up creating dark spots and it won't be cooked all the way even across. Notice that he's making sure it goes on even. Every now and then you'll get some crevices in the ribs, and when you have too much rub, they'll pull and make a little brown spot, and when you're cooking for a competition, you're gonna have to come back and clean those off. We're still using our Wicked Q. See, if you come back up here, you can see we'll come back, and sometimes you have to step away from them a little bit and look at them and see that, hey, I need to go back over them, because like if you check out right here on the end, although we're not going to use that bone, it just still works for our uniformity and keeps you in the practice of keeps you in the practice of being perfect for the judges. And that's the one thing you want. You want to make sure that what you're giving them is what you want them to have. So now we're gonna let that sit for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and put them in the smoker. So as you can see, we got the smoker up and going. You can see that nice smoke coming out of it. Here's our ribs. They're all seasoned up. We put them on a rack so they can get an even cooking. And there they go. Alright, so the ribs have been there about an hour and a half. So we're going to go ahead and spritz them a little bit. What the spritz does is it helps keep them drying out. And all this is in the bottle is a mixture of apple juice. You want to make sure you kind of just spritz it good. So the parts so there's no dry parts on it. Gets it nice and wet again. And then you just slide it on back in there. And that's it for right now. Alright.
We're back. So it's Dennis from Claude's Q. Cliff's over there. He'll walk you through what he's doing.
Basically, I'm going through the bones, taking the dark ends off of the little burnt spots to go ahead and get them ready so we can put our sweet sauce on them to sweeten them up for the judges. You want to get these off the bones because they're not attractive, and the longer they cook on, the harder they are to come off. So you can go ahead and just get these done. This one isn't too bad. So now that we have it, what we're going to do is basically put 4 cups of our concoction on here, turn into our next YouTube channel. You'll find out what it is, but basically it's a mixture of brown sugar, honey, and some butter. So I'll show you exactly how to make it on our next video. It'll be on a segment of its own, kind of use a blender, but and it just each pan gets about 4 cups. And there you go. Then we'll show you when they come out. Okay, so we've taken the racks out of the special sauce, and now what we're basically doing is giving them some barbecue sauce. I'm gonna put them back in the smoker for about 20 minutes. 2 of the racks came out pretty decent, other 2 didn't. That's why we normally cook like 4. But you know, some days you're good, some days you're bad. However, we're gonna see how the judge like the ones that we do like, and we'll just take it from there. So basically, you don't want to get it on too thick where it's pooling, but you want it to be on thick enough so when as it goes back in the smoke, it'll tack up and give it a nice glaze and shiny finish on it. So be back with you in a little bit. Alright, so now we have the ribs out, and now it's time to start cutting them so they can go in the box. You want to make sure that you cut all the way through so the judges will have a nice even bite, and the ribs are straight, because if not, you will be disqualified if all 6 judges doesn't get a piece of rib. We'll come back to you in a minute with the box.